Hi friends! I am very excited to be starting my next project. It's going to be part of a series I'm going to call Casual Cosplay. If you've followed me for any length of time, you probably know that I have recently become aware that I am very much not pleased with my current wardrobe. A lot of it doesn't fit my body or doesn't fit my style. So I've slowly been making me-made clothes. You want to come up? So I've slowly been making me-made clothes that fit well and are actually something that I will enjoy wearing and feel like is an expression of who I am. I've been a part of stage costuming and historical costuming and all different sorts of costuming for quite a while, but have only recently gotten into cosplay, and I have absolutely found such a love for it. I thought some really fun pieces to add to my wardrobe would be some of the more casual pieces some of my favorite characters wear, and then it would give me the boost of confidence of kind of portraying those characters without being in a full-blown cosplay, out and about. So this series, Casual Cosplay, will focus more on just everyday wearable cosplay pieces. I kind of started this in one of my more recent videos where I made Agatha Harkness's 50s dress, which I absolutely adore and gives me so much joy to wear. So I'm hoping to continue that vein with today's project, which is going to be a look from season 2 of Agent Carter. All of the Agent Carter costumes are simply amazing, but especially season 2 were just so on point. The villains, and especially Agent Carter herself, had amazing looks. Even the men had great looks. I have a feeling I will be making a lot of looks from that show specifically, with maybe a few other shows and movies thrown in. The look I'm going to be making today is from season 2, episode 4, and it's just a casual blouse. I'm going to be using a simplicity pattern as a base and then making modifications. When I do draft new pattern pieces, I will digitize them and upload them to my Ko-fi. I still don't know how to say it, and I will link that below so that if you want to make this blouse yourself, you can find those pattern pieces. Hi, Gustav. So I have talked for quite a while now. I'm really, really excited for this. I have so much hope that this is just going to be a wearable piece that makes me so happy without contributing to fast fashion. So I have really high hopes for this project. Let's get started. Okay, I've got to clean up the ridiculous amount of fuzz from making stuffies, but here is my fabric. Let's see if it will color correct at all. Oh, I really have to learn how to adjust the new settings on my phone to make this look good under my studio lighting. So this is the fabric. I just serged the edges so I could wash it. I always wash new fabric before I work with it. I got it at a fabric outlet near my house. It's 2 yards. It's this really nice rayon feeling crepe texture. Let's see if that'll show up. Hello. Hello. It's a nice crepe texture, so it's just nice and lightweight and will feel nice. I have gone ahead and cut out size 20 of view D. I'm gonna have to make quite a few modifications to the pattern, so I'll talk through that in a second. But I did not look at the packet and what it said, what size it said I should be wearing. I looked at the finished garment measurements here, and then I went ahead and measured across the waist here to make sure that that would fit, just double check. So I took the waist measurement, doubled it, subtracted seam allowances and the width of the darts just to double check that the size I was going to cut out will fit. Hopefully everything works out well. Really hoping for it. We'll see. Since I am making so many modifications to the pattern, I only cut out piece number 6, 11, 12, and 13. I will have to trace 13 and do adjustments later, but I'm not worrying about that right now. That's going to be a later thing. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut these ones out, and I'll walk you through how I plan to change it. Wow, the lighting just looks terrible with these new settings. I promise my hand looks normal to me. I'm going to start by folding this line at the center back, just because I am going to cut the back on the fold instead of the front on the fold. We're switching the openings around. Just gonna fold that in there like so. My plan for the front is to extend the front by at least an inch so that there's an overlap for a button placket, and then I'll add a facing, and I'll just, after I get the main body sewn together, cut out the shape of the v-neck that I need. So what I'm actually gonna do now is extend this by maybe like 2 inches, just so if I do have any problems with fitting, I can deal with that. I have plenty of room if I need it, because I'm not doing a mock-up. Probably should be, but I'm not gonna. Hello, it is a new day. I got really frustrated with the fabric and the pattern and my footage not working out the way I wanted it to the other night, so I just called it quits and walked away for a minute. It's a new day. I'm feeling a lot better. I got some good sleep. And last night I went to a local swing dance, and this really sweet lady that I hadn't met before, you know, I was all dolled up and whatever, she said I look like Peggy Carter, which obviously made my entire night, and I'm feeling a lot more enthusiasm to pick up this project again. So I'm just gonna keep working now. Picking up where we left off, I took this little tester strip here that's just a piece of scrap I cut off the bottom, and I tested chalk and a transfer marker. And as you can see, even after steaming away the chalk, it left behind waxy residue. So I'm definitely not going to transfer my markings with wax. You can barely see the transfer marker where I washed it away with water. So that is the route I'm going to go. This is why you should always do a test strip. So now I am going to go ahead and transfer my markings from the pattern to my fabric. My favorite way to transfer pattern markings is to lay my pattern over my fabric the way I've cut it out, take a ruler and put downward pressure so that it doesn't shift along the line. Then I can fold the pattern and the fabric up using either piece of tailor's chalk or a marker like this and follow along the ruler. This fabric is quite slippery, to make my point. In the show, hers is silk, which is also a slippery material, but I don't have the money for that, so this is what we're using. So as you can see, the marks came out, you know, a little off. I just did my absolute best to make sure that they were even if the fabric shifted around a bit. I also tried my best to pick a good thread color. They really didn't have one that was exact, and I normally wouldn't worry about this quite so much, but it does have buttonholes, so I hope this will do. I'm gonna go ahead and sew in all the darts, and then I suppose sew it all together. I'm really hoping that this is gonna fit well and give a good silhouette. Between these darts and the shaping on the side seams, I think it's going to look quite nice. I really hope so. This pattern seems promising, and if it's as promising as I think it is, I will definitely be using it quite a bit. So I'm really hoping this works out. The darts are all sewn in. I hated absolutely every second of that. The fabric is slippery, so it was hard to pin, hard to sew, and it also didn't press the greatest, so that was not particularly fun, but hopefully looking like Peggy Carter will be worth it. Now I'm gonna sew the pieces together. I am very excited that fitting is coming up soon, because right now I gotta tell you, the fear is pretty high that I'm doing all this work and it's not gonna fit, so we'll see. Okay, so I did the side seams. I probably should have read the instructions because it's been a couple days since I picked them up. I forgot that I'm supposed to gather down the shoulder, so I will go do that now. Oops. Okay, that part was pretty fun. The gathers are all in. Just take my ugly white threads out. There we go. Ta-da! You can see here I marked the front where the center should be, so in theory when I try it on, I just pin those two lines together and it's time to try on. Are you kidding me? I'm obsessed. I love it. It fits so well through the waist here. I'm going to have to shorten the shoulders a little bit, but honestly I have to do that on literally every pattern I sew ever because I apparently have short shoulders, so I love it. I'm gonna go ahead and mark where I want the neckline to come down to, because obviously I have to cut that out. This is where I wanted the neckline to come to, and to cut that, all I did was use my ruler and mark 5/8 of an inch away from each mark, and that was going to be my seam allowance, and then I just connected those lines into a cohesive curve. This probably would have been easier if I had a French curve to trace, but I just eyeballed it, and so it did take me a few tries, but eventually I got it. I will include a pattern for this in the description. I also had to cut off some length from the shoulders. I have to do this with every pattern, and this is personal to everyone's body, so I won't have a pattern. I'm going to use this rainy day to make some progress on a part that I think is going to be really fun, but just a bit complicated and take a bit of time. I'm going to start by tracing the old sleeve pattern piece, and then I have to make some adjustments. So I'll trace this and then we'll go from there. The next part of the plan is to cut this and then slash and spread the top to add some gathers, because hers has gathers at the top, and then after that to slash it again to create the tulip sleeve. So there's a lot of adjustments that need to be done. So the first thing I did to start making my adjustments was to mark the center of the pattern, and I just did this by folding it in half. Then I started drawing lines about 1/3 of the way down the curve so that I could start the slash and spread method so that I could add gathers along the top. This pattern did not have gathers, Peggy's does, so I just needed to do a bit of work. So I just cut all the way down those lines almost to the bottom, leaving the teeniest, tiniest sliver left so that I could just spread it apart from there. I traced the new pattern piece that was spread apart to add length for gathers in the top, and then I started sketching out where I wanted the tulip sleeves to fall, just so I had a visual of how that was going to work. It took a few tries, but I got there eventually. Then, after I had that done, I needed to trace those new pattern pieces on 2 separate pieces of paper so that I could pull them apart and attach them in the center. It kind of broke my brain a little bit, but it did end up working. I will link the tutorial I followed below in the description. In theory, this is what my new sleeve should look like when it's all put together, nice and smooth along the bottom with the gathers along the top. I do make some changes later, but I'll show you those. This is a comparison between the sleeve pattern that came with the blouse and my new pattern, which I will link in a PDF version in my description. Now it's time to figure out a front facing. I need to create a space for the button placket and the new neck shape. So here is my front bodice piece, and this is the piece that I cut away from the actual garment. So what I'm going to do is make a new pattern piece that just follows along that. I'll try to walk you through what I did here, but this is my facing piece. Here's the line, here's the line from the neck, and then I added seam allowance plus 1.5 inches so that it would be 1.25 inches with a 1/4 inch to turn under. And so here was my center line. First I added a 1/2 inch and decided I didn't like that, so I added 5/8, and then I added another 5/8 for seam allowance, and from this 5/8 line was my 1.5 inches. So now I have this strip that in theory, with seam allowance added, should line up just right to the piece that I've created. Now I have my back piece laid out as flat as I can make it, and I'm gonna work on creating a pattern for the back here, because this needs a facing as well. So same thing here, I added seam allowance plus 1.5 inches, and then I'm just gonna fold this once I cut it out to make sure both sides have the same angle and everything like that. As you can see, I did have to adjust the angle a tiny bit, but here you have it. This is my new back facing piece. Hopefully it'll work. This was my first version of the new collar pattern. Essentially, it was the facing pieces minus the seam allowance and then plus a little bit of extension for length. I do end up changing this so it won't stay like this for long. When cutting the facing, I just rounded this edge so that it would be easier to turn this under. I also cut the collar and facing pieces out of a lightweight inner facing, and then I stitched the collar together, making sure to understitch so it wouldn't flip. After serging the edge of the facing, which isn't a necessary step, I just like to take it because it makes the garment last longer, I folded over 1/4 inch and stitched it down so it would stay in place. After that, I pinned everything together and sewed it. This fabric is a little slinky, so it was a bit difficult at this point, but once I got to the edge of the neckline, I backstitched so that when I cut it so that there would be a sharp corner, it would be nice and secure. Hi, just a little update before I move on. I got this sewn in. I am going to lower the neckline by like 1 inch. I thought it was going to be low enough where it was, and I just didn't like it. And then I'm actually gonna make the collar a lot wider, maybe like 1.25 inches to even 1.5 inches. It is definitely not wide enough, so maybe a little less slanted as well. We'll see. I take that back because looking at my remaining fabric, I don't have all that much. If I need to end up cutting my sleeves a different way, I'm in a lot of trouble. So before I cut a new collar, I'm gonna cut the sleeves, and I am gonna do a mock-up for those because I've never made a pattern like this before. I'm not entirely certain it's gonna work out, and I also am wondering if it's gonna be long enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a mock-up. I'm just using some thrifted white sheets. I hate doing mock-ups, so that's how you know I really like this project. I'm doing a second mock-up on the sleeves. So just for comparison's sake, the top is the old mock-up and the bottom is the new version of the pattern, which I am actually very happy with. So you can see that it changed from just a straight across kind of version where I cut off this chunk in the middle and turned it into more of like a whale tail. I also made the edges a bit more curved so that it would fall along my shoulder nicer. Okay, it's a new day. I've been working on this mostly late at night because that's really when I have time to work on it. And I don't know why I was freaking out about trying to fit the sleeves in the fabric I have left. I was just looking at it and for some reason my brain was telling me like I needed to cut it on the fold twice. So I would have not on the fold twice. So like I would have been cutting 4 sleeves and I was freaking out about trying to fit that. And I don't need 4 sleeves. I only need 2. So anyway, I have the sleeve pattern done. I like it. And I can move forward. So I don't know why I was freaking out about that, but I'm gonna go ahead and move on and recut the collar and cut out the sleeves and figure out how I'm gonna finish the sleeves because, well, I'll fight that when I get to it. Collar attempt number 2. Spoiler, not successful. Okay, at this point I moved on to the sleeves because I was getting real frustrated with the collar and I needed a win. So I made some bias tape to bind the bottom edge of the sleeve and I tried that out on one of them. Update. Thank God. I did one of the sleeves. It turned out exactly how I was hoping it would. I needed that today. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other one, and this one I'll show you how I do it. I kind of just did one at a time to make sure it would actually work. And I really needed that win of it turning out really nice because I redid the collar last night and hated it. So took off the collar again, and now I'm gonna have to redo it again. But first I'm gonna finish the sleeves. But she almost looks like a blouse. So I have not much enjoyed sewing this project so far. It's been a disaster every step of the way, but dang does she look good. I'm very excited for it to be done when I can actually wear it. So I'm gonna actually finish this off before I sew the sleeve in because now that it looks more like a whale tail than straight, this is quite steep and it's just going to be a lot easier to finish the hem of this before setting the sleeve in. I sewed the binding to the bottom of the sleeve, right sides together, with the binding going up into the sleeve, just being extra careful to ease it around all of the really steep curves. And then when I was done with that, I pressed it inward towards the inside of the sleeve, and from the outside it gave a nice clean finish. I decided to top stitch on the inside. I don't think Peggy's blouse had top stitching there. Hers did have a much wider facing, but honestly, that's a fussy little detail that I don't think anybody but me would ever notice. So, you know, this slinky fabric really needed a good press after this, and I don't have a tailor clapper, so I just used my ruler, used a lot of steam on my iron, made it nice and hot, and then let it cool under my ruler. I really hate making mock-ups, and I didn't show it last night, but I remade the collar and then still absolutely hated it. So I finally gave in and made a mock-up. I'm happy with this. This side is the one I like better. It's just pinned in right now. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out. I sewed the other sleeve on. I'm just as happy with that as I am with this one. Then I just have to finish the front facing, do the hem. Not too much left to do, finally. So last night I did the understitching here and finished off the hem real quick, and today the buttons came. It was perfect timing, so I am so close to being done. Buttons got here. These are the buttons. I got them on eBay from Buttons in LA. They are great quality and the shop had excellent customer service, so I would recommend them if you're gonna make your own shirt like this. I really love these buttons. They were exactly what I had hoped they would be, and they're the perfect way to finish off this project. So with that, let's get to the reveal. Wrap up time. It was so hot outside when I filmed the reveal footage. So I just went home, took a shower, got in my pajamas, went to bed. I was not about to film the reveal then, so that's why you get me now. I think this was an absolute success. This blouse, the second I put it on, just gave me so much confidence. It was exactly what I was hoping to get out of this entire project. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. But beyond anything else, I am literally over the moon. This was exactly what I was hoping for. I foresee many, many casual cosplay and especially Agent Carter looks to come into the future because I was feeling myself. I don't know if you could tell from how long that reveal is probably going to be, but I was feeling myself. So the pattern itself, I did really enjoy. I found it very flattering. I'll probably use it again to make a different Agent Carter look. Like this time, it will need some adjustments, and so if I do that, I'll show you what I do. But yeah, I was just so pleased with how this project came out. Clumsily mentioned it a few times in the video, but I figured I will mention it again. I will link below to where you can find the patterns that I created to make this look for if you are interested in making one yourself. They'll be free. My next videos are going to be out for COSI, which is really exciting. If you don't know COSI, it's CosTube Symposium. It's just all different kinds of costume, sewing, costume creators getting together all around the same time to make some really cool content. I will link to whatever pages with information about it I can find below. I'm not sure if the schedule is out yet. If it is, I will link to that as well. So my next videos coming out are going to be for COSI. I have a really fun history bounding look. It'll be easy and include free patterns. And then I have a really big project announcement for a project that is so important to me, just so special. It's literally something I've wanted to do since before I even got into cosplay. It is a cosplay look. It's a cosplay historical mashup. So the fact that I'm actually going to be able to create this look is very special to me. It will be a long-term project. It will be a huge undertaking, and I hope you will join me for that. That will probably not have free patterns in it, unlike the history bounding look. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I just really can't impress how much this look means to me and how good it feels to be pushing my closet in a direction that I feel comfortable in. I don't have words for it, but I'm real happy. Thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it, and I will see you next time for COSI. Bye, friends. Stop licking me. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. I'm just kind of killing time, so hopefully my audio does the right thing.